the sound quality is okay. So this morning we're going to need the usual. The sticky mats, the blankets, the strap or the belt, a bolster, blocks, a chair. But then as always we can make do. There's always a way to create a usable prop out of very little, honestly. So let's sit up straight and tall. Draw your torso forward, but when you do that, bring your spine with you so that you feel like, you know how sometimes people lean forward with their chest, but they hold back with their middle body. And instead in yoga, we want to take that middle body forward and up, because that's the place when we type, when we're on our computer, when we cook, when whatever we're doing, when we look forward, it's our middle back that sort of pooches outwardly, and we want to bring it in and up. So normally, on a very hot day, you might expect to hear about being in India and how hot it was and how humid it was, and that's all true. But it pales in comparison to the yoga conference we had here in San Diego. It was in Escondido at Williams Barn. And I don't know if any of you were there, but Bernadette and Amy and I did go together, so we drove together. So I know the three of us were there. And it was 105 degrees. There was no air conditioning. There were some fans. And the sticky mats there wasn't even any observable space between the sticky mats. So you were really up against somebody. And so all I'm going to say is I thought this is undoable. You cannot do yoga under these conditions. How wrong. It was just fantastic. So when it's hot, you have to sort of surrender to that aspect of your day. You just have to say, yes, it's hot. And if you're in air conditioning, that's excellent. You're not going to even worry about that. But if you're not, then you want to just accept the temperature for what it is. And from the lowest part of your abdomen, just lift up toward your collarbones and toward the crown of your head, really, honestly, lift up way as tall as you can. And then take your hands beside you for balance, just for reference, really. Because when you put your hands beside you, you can feel a little more honestly whether both buttocks are down evenly. So that's what we want, is both buttocks to be down and evenly, and it's from there that we lift the spine up. So the sacrum does lift up and goes in. Now bring your hands together in prayer. And then when you bring your hands together in prayer, notice where they ended up, because mine usually end up right about, my thumb's about the center of my chest, but we honestly want to draw the hands down so that the wrists get closer to the waist. Yeah, so then and then you really have to re-lift your armpit area up. So lift your inner armpits up, draw your shoulder blade skin down away from the back of your head. So that's always the instruction. You can think about this all day long. Think about how much your neck shortens. But when you draw your shoulder blades away from your head, your neck lengthens, and you didn't do anything to your neck. That's the best way to deal with your neck. Deal with it through your shoulders and through your collarbones, and don't do so much with the neck itself. So the spine is lifting and inwardly. Close your eyes. And then start centering yourself mentally from left to right, from front to back, from top to bottom. So from the bottom, the sides of the feet, the cross of the shins, the sit bones down. Breathe. So we're lifting our hearts up too. It isn't just that we're lifting our chest. When we're doing yoga, we're going inwardly, but not just the physical body. We're going inward to the kind of the center of ourselves, which is much more, non-physical. It's the aspects of ourselves that we are really doing yoga to improve, I think. And then as we're here, of course, the body leads us inward. So we use the instructions to the body to go inward toward the very center of ourselves. And that will begin with the spine. So when you're lifting the spine up, you're thinking about creating space between the vertebrae. And then again, draw your shoulder blades down away from the back of your head. Now breathe, go in, prepare for yoga. And with your chest and your heart really lifted, bring your hands down to your thighs and then bow your head to your heart. So sometimes we bow our head first and then we bring our hands down, and sometimes the reverse of that. So, but open your palms of your hands toward the ceiling, even though they're resting on your thighs. Draw your elbows down, lift your armpits up so that your chest is actually coming closer to your chin, which is bowed toward your heart. And then open your eyes in front of your shins and bring your head back up. And then turn your palms down and straighten your legs. So now we'll go the other way. So, you know, even though we didn't do very much, that was energetic because we're thinking of our spine, we're thinking about the center of ourselves, the body is really cooperating here. So now put your hands on your knees, just over your knees, and then from that action, straighten your elbows all the way up into your armpits. So when you do that, you should feel the middle back body draw further forward and the chest lift up. So that's always the action. If I had I wish I had some sort of a reminder all day long to take my shoulder blades at the bottom and lift that area up away from the lower back and then draw the shoulders down. But that middle part, right below the shoulder blades, that's probably thoracic 6, 7, somewhere in there. You want to lift it up and in. Actually, I think Gita thought it was thoracic 7, and she said lift it in and up. So that, and that's taller then. You feel like, oh, why don't I do that all day long? Well, because we're doing this all day long. So now we get this chance to reverse that. Now undo and cross your legs. Now let's all cross our legs the same way. So if you are going to recross your legs the same way, sorry. But let's take the right shin in front and I will mirror you. So the right shin is going to come in front. And the minute we change our legs like we did before, you sort of get your sit bones organized by leaning forward to get to the front edge of the sit bone. And then stretching up. And now we're going to put our right hand on the floor and we're going to put our left hand on our waist and we're going to try to lengthen the right side of our torso. So even though our hand has come down and that would allow for the spine to collapse on the side body, instead lengthen it. So from the hip to the armpit, feel like you're lengthening the side body. And then lift your chest up and shoulder blades down and breathe. And then if you can take your arm and stretch it, do that. But otherwise, you know, you're doing what you can do. But remember, the right side body quite long, and we're going to take the left arm over. So we're going to take the left arm over our heads, not so much down to the floor, although wouldn't that be nice? But what I'm really thinking is get all the skin on the left side body just equally stretched. So that if it's the armpit, if it's the ribs, but for me, it's the side, the waist down to the hip. I need to press that sit bone back down. That's the part where for many of us it kind of shortens and then come back up. And then center yourself with both hands beside you because we're so oriented now toward the right. Now we've got a center. Both side to side, front to back. And then also top to bottom. So you want to really, again, relift your spine. And then we're going to put the left hand down and our right hand on our waist, and we're going to lengthen the left side of our torso. So just best you can, and breathing, using your breath, and then with your hand on your waist, you know, really point that elbow and open that armpit and lift the chest, and then bring the arm up if you can, and then take it over if that works for you. But when you take it over, you should notice the side body and where you could get a little more stretch. But plant that right sit bone down. And so from the hip to the waist on the right side, lengthen, and then to the ribs, and then to the armpit. So you should just feel nice and nice. It's a stretchy day. It's a stretchy day, so we like that. And then come back up. And now we're going to straighten our legs, and we're going to cross them the other way. And we're going to so we did a curve. That's a side curve. Now we're going to do a twist. So you're going to put your left hand on your right knee and your right hand behind you, and then center yourself. So don't go anywhere yet. Because almost immediately when you take your left arm over, your left buttock sort of says, okay, but replant that left buttock. Really replant the left buttock, side body really long, and then abdomen firm too, breathing, and start turning just gently toward the right. So don't lean to the right, stay centered. And so it's the skin on the waist. You can even feel the belly button trying to move over toward the right. That would be a good thing. And then the ribs. But not any further than feels right to you today, because it's that the left ribs are coming around and the left buttock is down. So you want to keep space on that aspect of the pose as you're turning to the right. And then breathe and come back to center. So we're always breathing on our twists. I didn't give you the exact breath count, but we know what it is. So put your right hand on your left knee and your left hand behind you. The count is to 3. That's generally the way it goes. So on the inhale, you lift up as tall as you can and center yourself too. So you're as tall as you can, and then on the exhale, start the twist, but keep your right buttock down and keep your right ribs moving around consciously, not too much. Side body really long. Then another inhale, lift up, and an exhale, twist. And then another inhale, lift up, exhale, twist. And then come back to center. So in India and in yoga, we use usually multiples of 3. So we could do 3 back bends, but in India, often they did like 24. Do 24 back bends. Oh, okay. But that was there. We're not doing that today. So come off your lift now, and we're going to take your lift away, and then just lie down on your back for a second. Lie down on your back for a second, and squeeze your knees in. So this is so when you squeeze your knees in, feel like you're going to do child's pose. So bring your knees to the outside of your torso and touch your big toe together. And then just, if you can take your hands to your shins, just draw your shins closer to your, the back of your hand, to your hamstrings. So the back of your leg. So we're closing the gap. You remember that term? So straighten your legs a little bit. The gap is open now, that gap between the calf and the hamstring. Now close it back down. So you always have to say to yourself, if I close the gap, because this is a thing we do in yoga a lot, is that okay for my knee? And then put your feet on the floor and roll over to the right and have a blanket or something for your head. And now we'll do the traditional child's pose, but we'll actually do forward virasana. Forward virasana is when the arms come forward. A traditional child's pose is often with the hands back. So right now, see if you can rest your buttocks on your heels comfortably so that the gap is closed between the calf and the thigh. However, not to ever do that if there's even the slightest bit of discomfort, because such a wonderful thing could happen if you put a blanket between your calves. And so it would be on the calves and the heels, and then it would just release a little bit of pressure. I'm just saying, because it's always best to do what's best for you. Now put your head on the blanket and your arms outstretched and child's pose. So the reason I have a blanket for your head is because for most of us, that allows the spine to lengthen evenly from the tailbone to the top of the cervical spine. Whereas without the blanket, for most of us, there's a sharp drop between the neck vertebra and the upper thoracic. We don't want that. We would like the thoracic and the neck vertebrae to just continue to be similar to each other. So just think about that as you're here. Does your neck feel long and comfortable? And breathe. And now come up and take that blanket away. And now we are going to lie down again, and now this time with a belt. I would like you to have enough space to take your legs to the side. So if you need a little more space, or if you are one of two people in the room, if you could make it so that each of you could have enough space to take your legs to the side. And then we're gonna lie down on our back, and we're gonna just put our feet on the floor near our buttocks. So for the first little bit, we're just gonna notice our back. So what I want you to do is put your hands beside your hips, palms down. And then notice your feet, and notice whether your feet have the same weight in both, because they might not. And then notice that both buttocks are on the floor and evenly. And now breathe and pick your lower shoulder blades up. So the bottom of your shoulder blades, pick those up and move them towards your ribs. And that will leave a bigger curve in your lower back, and you'll be a little more on the center part of your shoulder blades. Now, of course, we're talking about the curve in our back, which is going to soon change, but put your belt on your right foot and just take your right foot up, and notice how that changed the curve in your back to almost no curve in your back, right? That's just the way that goes. Now I want you to take your right foot away from your face. So your right foot is now stretched. It's not even halfway down, but I can see my foot, so you can gaze upon your foot. But then you can also say to yourself, is my inner right leg lengthened enough? Because oftentimes that shortens. And then as you're lengthening the inner right leg, notice that the weight on the left buttock remains, and then breathe. So put your left hand on the top of your right thigh. Just put your left hand on the top of your right thigh and ask yourself honestly, is there any muscle there, or is that just a little bit of soft flesh? But now we're going to change that. So push through the heel, and then keep touching your quadricep right at the very top, right at the crease of the leg, where there's a little bulge there, a little soft flesh. You know how that is. And then stretch your toes away from your hip so that you're pointing your toes, and then breathe, and then neutralize your leg and push your foot into that belt so that quadricep should be getting stronger. And now bring the right leg straight up over your hip. So I'm just asking you to get muscle in your thigh before you bring your leg up. And we'll talk about that because we think we're moving our leg around. Our leg, the top of our leg should stay where it is, and the foot should come forward. So undo that, and we'll try that on the second side. Because really, if you get this pose, and I know we're all teaching this, I bet you're doing this in every single yoga class, because this is a hot weather pose, and it's really good. Now notice the left side and the left quadricep, and see whether there's any more muscle on the left than the right. Sometimes it's funny. It has a lot to do with your hip. So you might notice that one side has a stronger muscular connection right there, but try to get that, pushing through the heel, pushing through the toe, neutralizing the foot, just try to get as much muscle as you can into the quadricep, and then draw the foot up. So the leg, the top of the leg holds back, and the foot lifts up, and breathe, and breathe. And now just bring your right foot up and put it into the belt, and take your left foot and put it down, and then straighten your left leg all the way out onto the floor. And now the two legs are both straight. So now stretch through the inner left leg. So now I'm really my leg gets the message. It's got to be really firm right at the top of the right thigh, right where it meets the crease of the leg. That's where it needs to be firm. So that's all going well. But now with the left leg, that part of the left leg is really smooth and long, and the inner leg is stretching, and breathe. And now breathe and see if you can bring the right foot a little closer to your face. But at the same time, hold back with the crease of the leg. So the crease of the leg is pointy, and the foot is coming forward. Of course, the hamstring, there is that issue, and don't overdo your hamstring. Now, look at your right foot and lift your inner right foot up a little more. Lift your inner right foot up a little more. Take your left arm to the side, and then take your right leg off to the right side. But just do that as low as you can get that right foot without coming off the left buttock. And then bring your right foot back up and let's reset the left side of the body. So now think of the left side of the body from the center of the face, down the center of the chest, down the center of the ribs, pelvis, inner leg. And take your right foot across the midline just a teeny bit to put weight in your left buttock. And then keep that and bring the right leg back up. And then take your left arm to the side. Now you're more connected to your left side body. Keep that down. Bring the right leg up and to the side, but keep the left side body down. So if it starts coming up, then stop there and maybe re-strengthen the inner legs. Maybe re-strengthen the inner left leg and take your right leg a little further. And then maybe stretch more through the inner left leg and take your right leg a little lower. And by lower, I mean toward the floor. I don't mean toward the foot side because you're trying to bring the foot up toward your shoulder. And then breathe and bring your leg back up. I thought that went better the more conscious we were of the left side. Now we'll do this on, we're going to try to breathe into our body, stretch the left leg up, get the left thigh really organized, strong, and bring the foot up closer and take the right arm to the side. And take the left leg to the side, but notice immediately that your right buttock is light. So bring the leg back up and cross the midline with the left foot. So then the buttock weight is really there, the shoulder, the heel, the calf. Breathe. Now keep your mind in your right side body, take your left leg to the side. So as you're taking it to the side, if you notice any less weight in the right buttock, maybe re-strengthen the inner right leg. I do everything I can to keep attention. It's really attention, because if you can keep your consciousness in your right buttock, it won't come up. But the left leg is so tempting, isn't it? The left leg is like, ooh, look how low that can go, but not without the right buttock staying down. Bring the left leg back up. And now belt the right foot, and we'll do that again. So right leg, but now you know everything you need to do. Strengthen the right leg, bring the foot higher. Now, the reason we repeat this is so that we get more flexible. And it isn't just over time, over years, it's in the one session. You get more flexible, but over time as well. So breathe, bring the right foot as close to your face as you can, keeping the right thigh back. Take your left hand to the side. Lengthen your left inner leg. Lengthen your right inner leg. Bring the leg up and to the side. So we're taking the right leg up toward the shoulder side, but down toward the floor. Left buttock stays down. And then if it's not down, bring the buttock back, bring the leg back up, firm the left buttock and take the right leg down again. It's always two sides. This is really about the left side of your body. That's why we care. Now you're going to bring the right leg back up. You're going to transfer the belt into your left hand, and you're going to cross the midline, just like we did before to put weight in the opposite buttock. And you'll see that. Your right buttock's lifting up. Your left buttock has a lot of weight. Bring the right leg back up. Bring the left leg up, put it in the belt, and stretch the right leg out. And then firm the left thigh. That sometimes takes some attention. And then bring the foot closer to your face, your right arm to the side, lengthen your inner right leg, breathe. So the weight in your right buttocks should be really firmly in your awareness as you take your left leg up and off to the side, off to the left side, and keep your right buttock down and breathe. So you should be stretching through your inner right leg to maintain this. And then breathe and bring the left leg back up, transfer the belt to your right hand and cross the midline. So now the weight has gone pretty much over to the right buttock, and bring your left leg back. Now undo that and roll to the side, and now you're going to get either those blankets that we had or a bolster. So I'm just going to use a bolster because I have it, and our buttocks are going to come onto the bolster. So the buttocks come onto the bolster and your back is on the floor. So it's just, you'll see in a minute. So when I have my buttocks on the bolster, because of my height, my back of my waist is also on the bolster. But you have to just get as much weight onto that bolster as you can, and then bring your knees in toward your chest. So when you bring your knees in toward your chest, you see the value of the bolster under your buttocks, because it brings the knees much closer than they would be, and just hold them close to your chest. Well, wherever they are, you can't do more than that, can you? And then take the right ankle over the left knee if you can, and take your right hand to your right thigh and roll that skin. So I begin that way. I begin by rolling the skin at the top of the thigh. That's the right thigh. And that brings the knee back. But then I'm going to take my left hand to my right foot, and I'm going to try to draw the right foot closer as I'm pushing the right thigh away. So, ouch. I don't mean ouch in a bad way. I mean IT band maximum. That's what I feel. But I'm not hurting myself. I'm just, I can feel it. And now undo and cross the left ankle over the right knee, and take the left hand to the left thigh, rotate that, and then take the right hand to the left foot and try to bring it closer. When you bring the foot closer, of course, you're bringing the knee closer, right? The right knee. So you could push the right knee closer, but in a while, we're going to need this hand anyway. So just have the hand and see how close you can get the thigh, the shin to the chest, and then undo. And now cross the right ankle over the left knee, and same idea. What we're trying to do here is first of all, we're trying to levelize the ankle and the knee. So I'm now going to use my right hand on my right knee. I'm going to push that away as I roll the right thigh externally. And I'm going to try to bring the left foot closer to my chest. And as I do that, I'm going to try to bring the whole shin closer. And yes, my IT band is really speaking. And I'm going to see now if I can get my right foot close to my left elbow. I don't mean I can. I'm just going to see if I can. And oh boy, not quite, almost. But you see what you can do, and then undo. Sorry if that hurt. I don't mean hurt in a bad way. You didn't injure yourself. Please don't do that. Cross your left ankle over your right knee. Hold the right foot with your left foot with your right hand. Push the left knee away with your left hand. So that could start to levelize the shin toward your chest. The knee and the ankle come in line. Start bringing the right foot a little closer, and see, and the right knee is, the left foot closer, the right knee is closer. And then see if you can get your left foot into your right elbow. And on this side, I have achieved that. But I'm not, it's not that different from the other side. It's just different enough that I can actually get it into the crook of my arm, and then undo. Okay, so put your feet on the floor. So we're going to do this 3-part pose. And so let's just talk for a second. So just come up for a second and let's talk. Because, when you lie down on the back and you listen, you're like, what is she saying? In this pose, and the reason I'm doing this pose is we should do this pose every day. Many teachers have told me that, not me personally, in a class. And so this pose can be done every single day. 1, 2, Supta Padangusthasana 1, 2, and 3. But what is 1? What is 2? What is 3? What we think. So just watch for a second. I'm still going to use the bolster because why not? It feels pretty good. And so Supta Padangusthasana 1 is this one. And we think Supta Padangusthasana 2 is this one, but that's not true. Supta Padangusthasana 2 is this one, okay? So I'm going to do 1, and then I'm going to do 2. So I'm going to try to get see, what do you do with the back of your head? That's the problem. And here's what you do with the back of your head. You hold the belt with your right hand, You bring your right arm behind your head, and that will bring your foot closer. So this is going to be Supta Baddha Krishnasana 2. You can see my foot doesn't come to the floor. That's just because of the bolster. And then 3. So I'm just warning you, come to your buttocks. Come back to your buttocks on the bolster, lie down, have a belt, and don't worry whether you can do this or not. It's the endeavor. It is not the achievement. It is the attempt. And it is being conscious through this attempt. So breathe and put the belt on your right foot, and you can put your left foot on the floor, or you can stretch your left leg out onto the hole. You know, you can straighten your left leg if you like. Whatever works best for you. Yeah, that looks good. That looks good. Good. Okay. And you know what I'm noticing, and I have to say with great appreciation, your legs are straight. How did you do that? That's beautiful. That's hard, isn't it? If you push up through the heel, but everybody's leg looks really good. Okay, now breathe. That's Supta Baddha Krishnasana 1. So just be where you can be with the very top of your right leg as firm as possible, and everybody looks great. And now breathe. Now you're actually bend your right knee towards your chest. Then take your right foot over the chest toward the left side. Try to get the foot as close as you can. Look at that. Then, and whatever you can do, if you take the arm behind the head holding your belt, so you're holding your belt, yes. So, and don't do the belt so much as the forearm. You don't want the belt at the back of your head quite as much as the forearm. And breathe. So you're you're using it. Then maybe you can stretch the left leg out, but you know, that won't come to the floor, not to worry. Good. Now undo that. You did heroically. Stretch the right leg up, hold the belt in your right hand, take the right leg to the right side. Beautiful. There you did it. Wow. Good. Bring the leg back up. That was nice. So now you know what we're doing, and you do it on the left side. And the interesting thing may be that your left side may be more flexible or not, but it won't be the same. You know how that goes. Now lift the left leg up into the belt. Stretch your right leg either out onto the floor, or you can keep the knee bent. So stretching through the right leg. Left leg is up. Breathing. Good. Now bend the left leg first. Bend the left knee in. Then take the left foot across the midline, across to the right, and try to get it close to your elbow. The foot to the elbow somehow, whatever you can do, because it might not. So we actually, Kathy Jo, our knee is bent. Our left knee is bent. Yeah. Okay, so you try to take the hand behind your head, holding onto the belt. That looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. Good. And breathe. And breathe. Good. And then undo that and stretch the leg up. Stretch the leg up. And now take it to the side, as in Supta Baddha Krishnasana 3. And breathe. And breathe. Good. That's good. See, something about that makes this even better. Now bring the left leg back up. Good. And undo. So let's try this again. Let's try it again both sides, because now that you know the drill, it will go better. Well, that's my belief. And also, it's nice to have such flexibility in our poses. So let's start with the right leg up, left leg out. So left leg can be bent though, you know, whatever's best for you. So you're stretching the right leg up and you're bringing the foot as close to your face as you can, holding the leg back. Now you're going to bend your right knee in toward your chest and take the right foot across the midline and try to get it as level with the knee as you can. You might have to hold the knee back a little bit and try to get the foot into the elbow or whatever you can do, and then take your right hand behind your neck, behind your head, and hold it, and stretch your left leg out. And then undo that, and stretch the right leg up. Now your head's back on the floor. Take your right leg to the right. So you're stretching through from the left hand to the right leg, all the way across the inner left arm, across the chest, across the right arm and the right leg. And then bring the right leg back up and put your left foot into the belt and take your right leg down, stretching your left leg. So knowing that these two sides might be different, just stretch the leg and breathe. And then bend the left knee and bring the left foot across the midline toward the right. And then put your foot in your elbow if you can. And then take your hand behind your head if you can and stretch your right leg out. Supta Padangusthasana 2, stretching the right leg. Now stretch the left leg up and take the left leg to the left side as the right arm stretches away from that action. So it's kind of a beautiful broadening stretch across the right arm and across the chest, across the left arm, left leg, breathe, and then bring that leg back up and then undo. Now come off of just roll to the side so that you're coming off of your lift. And then we're going to do something different now. And so I want you to just be with me because now we've got this bolster, or the blankets are fine too. So the bolster or the blankets, I'm just showing you, they're equal. And we're going to put our hands on one side of the bolster and our knees on the other. So you're going to come up into downward facing dog and you're going to stay as high on your toes as you can. And so your elbows probably aren't anywhere near the bolster yet. So make yourself as pointy as you can. So pointy up through the legs, pointy up through the buttocks, pointy up through the sides of the hips. Feel like everything is just pointy. And then start taking your thighs away from your face. So your thighs start moving away. I'm not saying so much bring your heels down because we might not be ready for that. But lengthen your torso by taking the thighs away. Now your elbows are probably on that bolster. And that's the intention, is we don't want the elbows to dive down. So open your armpits more, open your armpits more. My heels are still not on the floor. I wouldn't think that yours would be either. So stretch and then come down. And then we're going to sit on that bolster. So we're going to sit on the bolster and we're going to straighten our legs. And so we're all going to do the same side because it just doesn't matter. You can't really watch me and do this anyway. But do watch to start with so that I can show you what we're going to do because it's movement. And it's kind of intense movement, but it's not sweaty movement, if you know what I'm saying. It shouldn't be. So we're going to bring our right knee up. And here again, we're closing the gap, remember, between the calf and the thigh. But if you can't do that comfortably, then you take your knee a little, we're always careful. But I can do that. So, and then I'm going to lean in toward my torso, my chest to my thigh, and I'm going to take my left elbow across my right knee until I can come to Marichyasana 3. So Marichyasana 3. So then if you're with me, then look at your left leg so that your left leg is as long as it could possibly be. And you're turning away from the left leg with your ribs. So your ribs are turning around over to the right. So your right ribs come back toward the right, your left ribs come forward, and you breathe. But now, I told you this would be fun. So now you're going to bend your left knee. You're going to come over to the side, put your hands on one side of the bolster, and come back to downward facing dog. Okay? So we did Marichyasana 3 to downward facing dog. So lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. Here, now your heels may be lower. It's not a goal. It just might be happening. But it really has to come from the belly of your thigh, the middle of your thigh pushing back, and lengthening your armpits
lengthening your torso, side body. Breathe. Now bend your knees, and your left hip is going to come down first because your left knee needs to be bent. Okay, watch. It's hard to listen and do, isn't it? So here's what the deal is. It's supposed to be really a smooth move, but I know, but it's warm, and I'm not trying to make it too fast. So it's downward facing dog. Bend the knees. Sit down. Okay. So if you're there, we're going to do it another time. So we'll get another chance. So now we're going to take our right elbow over our left knee. So Marishasana 3, and then we're turning to the left now. So this is just, these twists are good for us, but just breathe. Be sure you're breathing and lengthening, lifting your spine up, turning toward the left with your torso, and breathing. So now, of course, you're going to be taking your right hand down to the floor. Your left hand is on the floor. So you're going to bend your right knee, roll toward the right, toward the left, put your right hand down, come back to downward facing dog. So it's just a little routine. So we're lengthening. We're lengthening everything, our armpits, our legs, our torso, our neck. Neck should just be relaxed, and ears between the upper arms. Breathe. Now bend your knees, and we're going to come with our right hip down first, because that knee is going to be bent, and the left leg will be straight. And then put your right hand behind you and your left elbow over your right knee, and breathe. So lifting your chest, centering your chest, everything you can do, breathing. And then we're going to come over to, we're going to put our left hand down and come back to downward facing dog. And breathe. Stretching, lengthening. And then bend your knees and bring your left hip down first, and your left knee will be bent. And Marishasana 3 to the left. So breathe. And undo. So that was, you know, if you're ever bored and what can I do, you can do something like that. I like little movements, and I think that's good. And I feel like that was, I'm not so hot that I couldn't stand it, you know. Now we're going to do some sort of an inversion. So, and inversions are good during heat. So you could do headstand, of course. You could do legs up the wall, which would be great. So one of those two. Either headstand, or, you know, you can always do a handstand too if you have a wall. So any kind of an inversion, half handstand, headstand, legs up the wall, all of them are good, because what they're doing is they're reversing the blood flow, and is so good for our brains. But be sure you're breathing, and making it just comfortable for you. When you take your legs up, you know, it's just a whole different world, isn't it? And it does a lot for us. I think it does a lot for us. Wow, you guys, that looks good. That looks good. And breathe. Yeah, that looks good, Riley. Nice. Lift your shoulders up. If you're in headstand, if you're in Shirshasana, the shoulders lift up, the forearms pull down, so that the neck is lengthened. And you're breathing. Good. Good. So stretch up through, if you're in headstand, then stretch up through your heels. Helen, that looks great, what you're doing. That looks really nice. And breathe. Everybody's breathing. Dilton, I have to ask you if you were doing a handstand. You're kidding. Oh my goodness. Okay, we'll have to talk. That looked amazing. So stretch your legs up, stretch your legs up. If you're at the wall with your legs, that's fine. Just stretch your legs up. And don't feel like you're working too hard. But in Shirshasana, the legs go up, the forearms go down, the shoulders go up. Everything is just beautiful. That's great. And breathe. Be sure you're breathing. Good. Those of you who I can see, good. I mean, if I can't see you, I know you're doing something good as well. Just wondering. Okay, if you're in headstand, it's time now to start coming out. So you're pressing your forearms down and so strongly that that's going to protect everything as you come down. So the forearms pressing really helps. And then you come down, and now if you're up, legs are up the wall, bend your knees and roll to the side. Roll to the side. And then have a blanket for your head in child's pose. So child's pose with your head on a blanket. So you can either do arms outstretched into forward virasana, or you can have your hands back by your hips. Just lengthen. So in child's pose, we're lengthening two directions, back toward our buttocks, up toward our shoulders and our head. And I just want you to feel comfortable here. That looks good. See, child's pose can look really good. I think that looks nice. And then carefully come back up. Carefully come back up. And then let's stand up for a minute. Let's stand up for a minute into Tadasana. So we're going to be in Tadasana, and we're going to just, now, we were upside down, now we're upright, but it's the same idea. Now we're on our legs, which were previously up, but lift your chest up, pull your arms down, and then just be in both feet. So it just should feel nice and solid. Just feels like, yeah, this is the pose. There's something about headstand, being upside down, that makes Tadasana even better, because headstand is very calming. Having your legs up the wall is another version of that, very calming. Lift your chest. Now we're going to take a blanket and roll it up into a nice little tube. And so we know this one. We're going to lie down on our backs with our shoulders over this. So we'll feel, it will be a back bend. And it will be a nice back bend. So that if that's true for any reason, if that's too much for your back, then make it a little flatter blankets. We are always trying to be good to ourselves. But when I come into this, it's really the bottom edge of my shoulder blades and the vertebra right below my shoulder blades that is up on that blanket. And then straighten your legs and press your thighs down. So your arms can go up and over your head and stretch away from your legs, if that works for you, if that's okay for you. So if you have your arms over your head and you have your legs together, stretching down toward the floor, touch your thumbs together and stretch your fingers away and just feel the openness of your armpits. So this is a back bend. And so from the place where the blanket is to probably the sit bones, there's not a lot on the floor, right? You're in a back bend. The back is up toward the front body, and the front body is curving upwardly toward the ceiling. So this is a nice back bend, but notice the legs. So press the legs down. Now, if it's available to you, you can take your arms to the side. So your arms can come to the side. So you're stretching right across your chest into your hands. You're still pressing your thighs down. You're still pressing your thighs down. Breathe. Now, just put your elbows on that blanket, bend your knees, and roll to the right side, and come up. So that's the first. We're going to do some back bends. We did back bends last week, but we're doing them again. Back bends are good, and back bends are good in heat. So we're going to have 2 blocks now. So 2 blocks, and I'm going to show you, there's a default always. And the default is for shoulder blades to be on one block that's at the mid-level and head on the tall block, and your legs are crossed. But that's not the only pose possible here. So I'm just giving this as, if you don't want to do what I'm going to suggest next, this is what you're doing, and it is fantastic. You just cannot go wrong. But for some of us, we would like to do Virasana, and we would like one block for our upper back and one for our head, and so that it's Paryankasana, which is couch pose. So this is only if you know this and you like this, this is what you're doing. Otherwise, you're probably doing the other one, because this is much harder. I mean, this is much harder on your knees. I don't mean it's harder. It's just harder on your knees. So if your knees are good with that, then you come to Virasana, and you're going to lie back over one of those blocks for your back and one for your head. So if you're in Paryankasana, you can put your hands on your feet, draw your elbows down, lift your armpits up. If you're in cross legs over the 2 blocks, you're broadening right across your chest into your arms. So one way or the other, you're in a pretty good back bend. Make sure your head is supported and your neck feels long. That's the important part here. You want to feel like your neck is supported. So sometimes, you know, if you need a little more for your head, you need to get it. And but you definitely want the back of your neck to feel comfortable. So you're either, and it looks like a lot of us are in the cross-legged version of that, and that is just fine. That's great. No worries. That's perfect. Yeah. Good. So here, this gives you an opportunity to feel the back bend without having to do the physical work of holding it up. I mean, because sometimes we do back bends where we have to do the back bend without any support. But usually we've done something like this to give us the feeling of it first. So you should feel like your shoulder blades are well supported. And that's the little technique. When your shoulder blades are supported away from your lower body, that is perfect. And that's so helpful, because it's the spine from the bottom of the shoulders to the tailbone. That part of the spine, that's the part that's going to curve. And the shoulder blades are going to be stable. So you've got this nice, beautiful curve, and you're breathing. If your legs are crossed, cross your legs the second way, so that we're always remembering that there's 2 sides, and that both of them need attention. And over time, they get kind of more similar to each other. But at first, you know, it's like, wow, one side to the second is very different. So breathe, soften your face, relax your face. In this kind of a back bend, it's energetic, but it's pretty quiet. It's not a big, heavy breather, because you're supported. And you should feel like your chest is really nicely lifted, and your shoulder blades are supporting the lift of your chest. So those 2 are partners. Your shoulders and your chest, they're always partners, but here you really feel it. because the shoulders are helping the chest lift. That's all there is to it. Breathe. Now we're going to come up from this. So if you have a way of coming up that you feel is safe, do that. If you're not sure, you press your hands down. Everybody knows how to do it. Lift your chest up really quickly. Yep, that's what I like. See, so your head doesn't dangle behind it. All comes up at once. Now we've got the blocks. We've got a belt, and we've got a blanket. So here's one option is going to be that one where we sit on a blanket or two, we build our shins, and we take our blocks to the same level. So I'm showing you this because the other option is chair back bend. So I personally would do chair back bend, but if you don't have a chair or if that doesn't work for you, the one that you're going to do is you're going to sit on a blanket. You're going to belt your shins, and you're going to come back over either two high blocks like we were before, or two medium blocks. So they're both are fine. Or we're going to use the chair. So if we're going to use the chair, I'll show you my chair back bend because I love chair back bend. It's probably the best pose for my whole being. This is a good one. I do it every day. So I'm going to put my head on a block, though. It's for the safety of my neck. And I'm going to have a bolster for my feet. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but for me, if I was at the wall, I wouldn't need that. But I'm not at the wall. So if I'm going to do a back bend through a chair, I'm going to be as comfortable as I can be. And then I have to reach for that block, find it, and put it under my head. So chair back bend or your two blocks, belted shins, and something for your buttocks. Breathe. Whatever you do, though, once you get there, you pull your shoulder skin toward your ribs. So your shoulder blades are moving towards your ribs. Your collarbones are moving up towards your head more. So the front body is long and the back body is curved. Breathe. So breathing in back bends is not only advised, it's critical. You have to breathe in a back bend. And then if you need something for your head, because I did, something under your head. Oh, I know, Riley, I always lose mine too. Oh, that looks good, Jackie. So that looks good. Okay, as long as you feel like I think that looks good. Okay, breathe. So those of you in a chair, you know the chair back bend and you like the chair back bend. Yeah, and those of you but if you're in a chair, I would take my shoulder blades. I wouldn't have my shoulder blades on the chair. I would move back so that it was not my shoulder blades on the chair at all. Yeah, and then if you're in the chair, and you can either have your knees bent or you can stretch them out straight to the wall or onto something. And then you can take your hands under the chair seat, between the chair legs, under the chair seat, and hold on to the back rungs. You can do that. If you're in the beautiful two-block setup, that's good too. And you could just see if you wanted to take your arms over your head and holding your elbows. And that's also possible. Yeah, that looks good. So that's possible in chair back bend too. But now if you're in chair back bend, just enjoy. And if you're in the other one, just because these are all about being supported while doing a beautiful back bend. And breathing, and breathing. That's good. That's good. Okay, so now, if you're ready to come up from your chair back bend, you can start coming up. If you want to stay a second longer, that's good too. But I always want to give you the option of coming up while you still feel like coming up. Sometimes I get into a back bend. I could stay there a long time. Good, good. So breathing. Back bends are good. They're good. They're good for our backs. They're good for our brains. They're good for everything, I think. So, but now everybody come up carefully. Everybody got to come up really carefully. And then have a chair. So have a chair. If you don't have a chair, that's okay. If you don't have a chair, we'll use something else for what we're going to do next, because we're going to use blocks. But if you do have a chair, then you're going to use a chair, and you're going to put your hands on the chair, step your feet back to a chair dog. So the reason I like the chair, but if you don't have a chair, you're just doing a regular dog. And then with your hands on the chair, then you're going to turn your hands sideways and come forward into a chair up dog. So you're just going to lift your chest as high as you can away from the feet. The toes are on the floor, of course. Lift your chest up. And then come back to chair dog. If you're doing regular dog up dog, that's good too. They're both great. They're both great. Because chair and dog and chair dog are both wonderful. Then come forward from dog back up to up dog. So you're lifting your chest up. And then you're going to pull your thighs back. When you pull your thighs back, you come back to the dog pose and you lengthen. And then you bend your knees and you step in. But now we've got this chair, and I want to show you something with the chair. So I'm going to move the chair here, and then I'm going to put something on top of the back of the chair. And then I'm going to bring a blanket in for my shins. So I'm going to come down. We're going to work on Ustrasana, so camel pose. So we put our blanket, this is for our shins. And then I'm going to have two blocks beside me because I'm going to need them. But first of all, I'm going to try to use the chair for something. So I'm going to turn my back to the chair. And the back of the chair is not the seat of the chair. The back of the chair is the back, is where you would rest your back. And then I'm going to bring the chair close to me. So once you get set up and you know you've got a chair there, then watch what I'm going to do, okay? Because let me tell you that in Ustrasana, we want to have our thighs and our pelvis stay in a line and not do this. Do you see that? We want to keep all this up. It's this part we want to lift up. So I'm going to bring the chair in, and because of my height, some of you could bring the chair in, and the top of the chair is going to be right at the bottom of your shoulder blades because of your height. For me, because that's not true, I'm going to lean the chair into and see how I'm taking my arms to the chair seat, and I'm just going to lift my collarbones, my collarbones are lifting. The bottom edge of my shoulder blades are on that chair, and I'm really stretching my arms back, but my head is going to stay neutral. I'm not taking my head back. So bring the chair back into your shoulder blade, yeah, but don't let your head relax back because that's too much on your neck, for most of us. We're not ready for that. Good, good. So don't you feel like from your back of your knees, there's a big long line up to your shoulder blades, and then there's a big curve? That's how it should feel. There's a big curve. So we're just seeing what we can accomplish here using that prop. Yeah, I think that looks great. So, yep. Beautiful. Okay, now you're gonna just undo that and move the chair away. But you can see what a prop that is. That chair is a prop. But we're gonna move it away, and then we're gonna start using blocks. So I'm gonna move the chair away a little bit. I'll show you something else in a minute, but I don't know that I want you to try it you'd have to feel really confident. But here I am, I'm gonna have my blocks. So I'm using my blocks for my hands. And the blocks come back in line with my ankles. And then I'm going to take my interclasp my hands behind me. And now I'm doing kind of the same thing with my back that I was doing with the chair. In that I'm going to pull my hands down toward my knees and lift my chest up toward the ceiling. And I'm not leaning forward with my, from the thighs all the way up to the top of the ribs and the chest lifting. It's a big long line. And then undo. So I want you to feel the difference between this and this. Big difference, because it's so much more what you did. So interclasp your hands the other way if you did that, or use a belt or something, and you're pulling your hands down. And you should feel like from the middle back is like squeezing inwardly and up, and the back body is squeezing toward the spine. And then undo. Now, if you can sit back on your heels comfortably, do so. And if you can't, grab something like a bolster. Because I want us to just sit down for a second. And sometimes, if you can't sit comfortably in Vajrasana, just sit for a second. And then not for too long. See, that was a second. Now we come off that. Not much. And now my chair's back there somewhere. And I might want it. But here, now I'm going to take my blocks, and I'm going to take them close to my shins at the high level. Okay? And then I'm going to lift my chest up so tall, and I'm going to bring my hands down. Now, I want to say something about your neck, so watch me for a second. I want to say something about your neck. I have what I perceive as a long neck, and I don't want to hurt it. So the way I start a back bend is to keep my chin close to my chest, which makes it really an unpleasant double chin, but we can't care about that, can we? No. So here I am. But you see, I'm not this way. I'm not ready for that. So I would like to bring my hands down to the blocks and keep my chin close to my chest and my middle back lifting up. See how far you can get into that. Maybe it's just fingertips to the block. Maybe it's the whole hand to the block. It's a huge stretch on the front body from the knees all the way up the thighs, pelvis, ribs, chest, and then, but still the back of the neck should feel somewhat comfortable, and then come back up. And then I have to ask you to honestly ask yourself, did I breathe? Because I was talking, so I might not have. You need to breathe, okay? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go from the high block, and we're going to go, so watch me. Here I am with the high block. I'm still protecting my neck. In a second, I might not be. Then I'm going to go to the low blocks. Now that my fingertips can come there. And now I'm going to go to my heels, which I can touch. And now, but do you see when I come to my heels, I move my thighs forward and my middle back forward. And now here's my head just resting on the back of that chair. Bingo. It won't fall over. You could just try that. So let's all do this together. When you're on your knees, your knees aren't right together, are they? You've got a space between your knees. Your knees would be hip width. They don't have to be, but it's hard on the lower back otherwise. So lift your chest up, bring your hands down to the, whoops, my high blocks got down to the low blocks. Now bring your hands to the high blocks, if you can. So, and don't look sideways. Just keep your gaze soft and breathe. So you're lifting, so you're keeping your chin, yeah, that looks good. Now go to the low blocks if you can. See if you can go to the lower blocks. That might just be fingertips. That might just be fingertips. But if you can come to the low blocks and then take your middle back forward, yes. Not your ribs as much, not your abdomen, but your middle back. Your middle back, not your abdomen. Good. So Paula, no good for you? No. No good. Okay, why don't you lean over a chair? Just put your put your back on a chair, and so that you've got something for your back. Okay, now if you can grab your heels, grab your heels. I'm talking to everybody else. If you can grab your heels, grab your heels. Yeah, okay, that looks better. That looks better. Good, breathe, breathe, and then come up, then come up. Do we like Ustrasana? No. I love Ustrasana, but it's a hard pose, isn't it? Can we try one? If you can try one more, try one more. But if you can't, so I totally get that. If it's not for you today, then here's another idea, is to take a chair and have the chair seat into your middle back and have a lot of props for your head. So Paula, when I was suggesting this to you, I wasn't thinking for you to bring your head back, but now I'm thinking for everybody that can't do an Ustrasana, do this instead. So you're sitting on something like maybe a block, and your middle back is to the chair, and you're holding onto the chair, and your head comes back. So you need a lot under your head if you do that. I do. I need a lot under my head. Otherwise, high blocks for the Ustrasana. High blocks for the Ustrasana. Breathing. Ah, good. Good. Wow. That looks great. That's beautiful. Now, bring your middle back forward more. Yeah, bring it. Yes, middle back forward more. Uh-huh. Okay, Gail, you need more under your head for sure, like a lot more. I need so much, it's almost like every blanket in the world. Okay, good, you guys. Now, if you can come down to your heels, do that. So, Jackie, do you think you need something more under your head? I think you need to take that blanket and fold it a little more. Everybody else, breathe, breathe. So, yeah. Good. If you can come down to your heels, you're in Ustrasana. Look at you, Mary, with the chair. That's what I was intending. That looks great. That looks great. And breathe, and breathe. And now, if you're in Ustrasana, come up. And if you're at the chair, just stay there. And Jackie, that looks good now. See, I thought you had enough under your head now. And Kathy Jo, too. That looks good. Okay. Nice, you guys. Nice, you guys. So now we're going to come up from all these back bends because we did a lot of back bends, right? And hopefully we're now going to lengthen our backs again. So I'm going to use the chair again, but I'm going to use it for my hands. So first I'm going to take my hands to the top of the chair. And so it's as long as I can get it. Longest spine I can possibly get. From my hands to my thighs. And then my ears between my upper arms. So it's just this big, huge, long, long stretch. Good. That's great. Now bend your knees, step in and come up. And then turn the chair around and put your hands on the chair seat so that it's just a more regular chair dog. So after back bends, what we always do is we lengthen our backs to the maximum of our ability because we really want to separate the vertebrae and breathe into them. So a nice long chair dog, really nice long chair dog. Good. Now bend your knees, step forward, come up. So now what we're going to do, and this is for some of us, and it's not going to be a long one, but we're going to do either a chair shoulder stand or we're going to do a block Setu-bandha. So one or the other, and it's going to be 5 minutes. So if you go into a chair shoulder stand, it's not going to be long. You know, in shoulder stand, sometimes we stay longer. But it doesn't have to be. You know, if you're inverted for about 4 or 5 minutes, that's really good. So make your choice here. Either get something for a chair, shoulder stand, or have a block. So if you have the block, you're going to put it under your low back sacrum, under your sacrum, really. Okay. So either you're in some sort of a setu bandha or you're in a chair shoulder stand. And I see that most of us have chosen the, oh, Kelly, you've got the chair. That's good. It doesn't matter. It's just fine, whatever you have. What we have to do is, oh, okay, Carol, you're going to do a regular. That looks great. Okay, nice. Okay, good, 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 good. Basically, what we're trying to do here is we're trying to counteract the headstand. Headstand and shoulder stand are partners. So if you did any kind of a headstand inversion, then you want some sort of a shoulder stand or setu bandha. Yeah, that looks good. That looks good. And breathe. And breathe. So as we're here then, the legs are up in some version or another. So if you're on the block, bring one leg up at a time. Paula, that looks good, what you're doing. That looks great. Good. Yeah. So if you're in the block, you take one leg up at a time and then bring it down. And then you bring another leg up at a time. And if you're on the chair, you know, on a chair, you go back and forth between what is essentially a chair shoulder stand and Viparita Karani on a chair. So essentially, so if you did lift one leg up, be sure you lift the other leg up. And breathe. Good, good. Yeah. Nice. So we still have a couple more minutes. If you're in the chair, shoulder stand, or whatever you're in, it is all about the chest being so prominent. You know, the chest is really lifted. So the shoulder blades are moving toward your chest. So in chair, shoulder stand, you really feel that. And in block setu bandha, you feel that as well. So those of you in a traditional shoulder stand, by the way, you look good. That's good. Yeah, nice. Really nice. Good. Now carefully, carefully come down from that. Come out of that. However you can to be as comfortable as possible. And then you need to just relax your back. Relax your back. So whatever your choice is, then you relax your back and you soften your lower back. And then you do a child's pose. So a child's pose is always recommended after both headstand and shoulder stand. And I think you know that shoulder stand always follows headstand. They don't go in the other, they don't reverse. We always first do, if we're gonna do both, first we do headstand, then we do shoulder stand. And really, those are two of the most important poses. So to cultivate some sort of an inversion practice is a really good idea. So child's pose now. So you're lengthening back towards your buttocks and towards your neck. Both are getting a nice, long, soft stretch. Good. All right. When you're done with your child's pose, then come up and have your chair again. So you're going to have a chair and you're going to have a block. So I'm just going to move the chair as if it's against a wall. And then I'm going to put a block on the chair. Okay? And then I'm going to put my right foot on the chair. So I'm just showing you that if I had a wall, we know this one. It's a beautiful twist. It's a really nice twist. But then your right foot comes up onto the block, and the right foot is closest to the chair back. And so then you've got, you can put your right hand on because we don't have the wall. It's interesting, isn't it? If we have the wall, we feel so comfortable. Without the wall, we have to really organize our right foot and our left leg, and then take your left hand to your outside of your right knee. You could hold the chair back with your right hand, unless you feel comfortable to take your right hand to your sacrum, and then stay centered and start curving your spine, twisting toward the right. But you have to keep your hips pretty stable. Don't let your hips wobble or come with you or anything. Just turn your torso. And then undo. And put your foot down and walk to the other side of the chair if you're like me, and put your left foot on the chair, on the block. So the chair seat has a block on it, and your foot is on that block, and you would like the knee and the ankle to be in line, and your right hand comes to the left knee, your left hand to the sacrum, or to hold onto the chair and start twisting toward the left. But, notice your hips, how they might want to help. Keep your hips really firm and turn away from your right hip toward the left with your torso, and breathing, and breathing. And then come back to center and put your foot down and walk to the first side. This is probably the best twist for anybody with low back problems, but also after back bends. So your right foot is on the block, your right knee is directly over the ankle, best you can. The left leg is really strong, left hand to the outside of the right knee, your right hand behind you onto the sacrum. Be centered. Before you start twisting, be centered with your spine, and then start twisting and taking your right elbow back. So your right elbow goes away from your right knee. The spine's right in the center. And breathe. So you're twisting and breathing and lifting your spine up and breathing and twisting. And then come back to center and walk to the other side and put your left foot on the chair, on the block on the chair. And then your right hand to your outer left knee, your left hand behind you on the sacrum, lift up really strongly, turn toward the left. Keep your right hip back. Your left elbow is coming away from your left knee, you're turning away from all that. And you're breathing and you're lifting, so the spine is lifting and breathing and turning. And then come back to center. And then Shavasana. So you've got the chair if you want to use it for your legs, or you want to put a bolster under your legs, or however you want to do Shavasana. Even legs up the wall, Vikrita Karani, however you want to do it. Just come into your Shavasana.
So once you get to your spot, which might take a second, then you have to release the weight of your body to the surface you're on, floor, probably is the floor. But whatever it is, this is always the way to begin relaxation, is to release the back body. So you want to feel like your back body just softens, and that you recognize the weight now that's probably in your head, your shoulder blades, your buttocks. If your legs are outstretched, then probably your calves and your heels. Sometimes in Shavasana, we have our knees bent so that just the heels are down, the buttocks and the heels. But either way, the whole front body is just draping softly from center sideways. So once you get the back body really connected with your mind to the floor, and you let all the muscles of your back body relax and soften, so you let go, and you lift your chest away from, even though you're on the floor, you're lying down, you're in Shavasana, you still want to feel like your heart is lifting just gently up. So it's not a big action, and your gaze is softly gazing at your heart. So this is a very heart-oriented practice. You start to feel like your whole body's involved, your whole mind, everything about you is involved in yoga. It's such a beautiful practice. Relax your face, soften your jaw. So the softening sideways begins with the face. So from the center of your face, relax towards your temples, towards your earlobes, and towards your jaw. Relax your tongue. Relax your tongue to the lower palate. Just be aware of your breathing. From the center of your chest toward your armpits, toward your elbows, toward your hands, there's a soft opening there. It's a really open, broad experience, really, because no longer can you even imagine. Now we're just relaxing everything. The bones, the flesh, the muscles. Let go. So your chest is broad, your ribs are broad, your hips are relaxed. Your skin, it's the skin too, so soft, so relaxed. Just breathe. The breathing is so beautiful in Shavasana, and the breathing in our everyday life is autonomic. And it is also in yoga, except that we just attach our mind to it. And then it becomes a little more of an inward experience where you're feeling the softness of your inhalation and the length of your exhalation. Letting go, broadening, softening. Your tongue on the lower palate. Now gradually bring your awareness to your inhalation and slightly deepen it. So your inhale is a little deeper, and then your exhale will be just a little longer. So we're starting to come back to our day now. So bring your inhalation in and your exhalation out, and just feel like you're awake again, and bring your hands to your abdomen and thank your body. So we come from a very deep relaxation back to a place where we're ready to come back to our day. When you're ready, you're just going to turn toward your right. So bend your left knee, turn over to the right, and rest down on your right side so that you're not quite ready to come up. You want to savor the last few moments of Shavasana. And then when you are ready to come up, you look down at the floor, press with your hands and your arms, and carefully come up. Namaste. I bow to the goodness within you. So for years, I've been wanting my neighbor to trim his tree, and he did it during yoga. Yay! I was like, I walked out to my upper deck and I'm looking, what are they doing? I said, oh, I don't want to stop that. Finally, the tree's getting trimmed. Okay, guys, have a really, really wonderful week. And hopefully this practice will feel good to you as you go on with your day. Have a great day. See you soon.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Thank you so much, Barbara. It's excellent.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you so much. Glad to see you all.
Thanks, Barbara.
Good. I'm going to end the meeting. See y'all later.